draft pick in Justin Fields that they aggressively moved up for, which really changed the outlook of that franchise. And, of course, those guys running it, Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, when you think about the investment they put now in this young quarterback. So, Mike T., if you're running that organization, where do you go? Who wins this competition?
It's Justin Fields. I was really disappointed in the way Coach Nagy characterized things, and here's why. The best players should play, and Andy Dalton's been a competent NFL quarterback. Justin Fields' ceiling is much higher. The players will know. As soon as Justin Fields understands and knows the offense intimately enough where he can make protections, protect himself, knows where the hots are, he should be out there. And I think that will be so clear and obvious for for Matt Nagy to come out with this predetermined that, hey, Andy Dalton's our quarterback. That just felt really short for me because your veteran players want to win, and I don't think it's going to take very long for Justin Fields to surpass Andy Dalton.
Do you give credence, though, Mike T, to the idea? I think he said it on our show a couple weeks back. That maybe he didn't say it. Let me not misattribute. But the idea that Nagy is just trying to keep the Wolves at bay, like he actually knows what's up, but there is no right answer necessarily in the eyes of the media at this point.
Yeah, Monica, that's a fair point. But I know a lot of times when you're a head coach or a GM, like your audience is really your locker room, even though you're talking to the media. And if I'm talking to the Khalil Macks of the world as the head coach, the only thing I'm saying is, like, we want to win this year. And even though he's a rookie, Justin Fields has such a higher ceiling. So I think there's a way he could have just said, hey, as a Chicago Bear, we stand for one thing. We're a meritocracy. The best player plays. And look, Andy Dalton, he's ahead because of experience, but if and when Justin Fields beats him out, he'll play. I just think he could have handled that better. And now, again, to me, the players will be the ones that will be the checks and balances in that decision.
On a side note, Mike, I'm glad you said that because that is something that a lot of fans don't understand. When coaches, I think especially in the NFL more than any other sport, but you do see it in NBA as well. When coaches talk to the media, sometimes they're not talking to the media. They're talking to the players. They're just using the media as the tool. I can't really say this in front of the room, but I can say this here, and I know the guys will read it, or at least the guys that need to read it will read it or hear it, and it's that message sent. But I look at it as we all know CYA does happen in sports, right? Especially when you're in a front office. And I'm not saying you ever did it. Maybe you did, but I'm saying that it does happen. And this is the perfect CYA. I go with Dalton. First of all, if I'm coming out saying it's a competition, Andy Dalton's already, to me, I might lose him. I can't afford to lose him. So I say already, no, he's our guy. We're going to give Justin Fields time. But it's so much easier to go with the vet. And then when it doesn't look right, if it's not working, then I can transition to the young player. What's harder is to start the young guy, and then he struggles, and now I got to take him out for the vet. And now it becomes, is he a bust? The kid now is wondering, what did I do? I screwed up. I'm not good enough. That, to me, is a lot easier to manage going from the vet to the young player in the middle of a season or early in the season than it is the other way around. Don't you agree with that?
Generally, but Alan, I see this so differently. I see it as a big opportunity. Chicago was in the playoffs last year. They have a really good defense. Green Bay, it's a massive question mark. Detroit, question mark in terms of how good is Jared Goff. Minnesota, okay, they have Kirk Cousins. Their pass rush, to me, I don't know where that's coming from. So if I'm the Bears, I got a good defense. My offense, I have a really high, I did a great job. I got this quarterback who has a really high ceiling. So I'm not worrying about optics or anything like that. I want to go win. And we have a chance to win now. And going back a decade, guys, we took Mark Sanchez, top 5 pick. We won 4 playoff games with him, 2 championship games in a row as a rookie with a really good defense. Why can't Chicago go do that right now with that defense and all the other question marks in the NFC North?
We'll learn in training camp if you can. Keyshawn J. Will Zubin brought to you by Mako. When life throws you O's, just say, better get Mako, and head to Mako.com to get an online estimate today. So let's go to Chicago. David Kaplan, who joins us right now on the Goodyear Hotline, brought to you by Goodyear, helping you discover the road ahead. Goodyear, more driven. Cap from ESPN 1000, good morning. I know you've heard a bit of this conversation, so take us into the thoughts in Chicago about this quarterback competition. What do people want, and what do you expect?
Well, first, it's great to be with all of you. Here's the way I look at it, and I understand where Mike is coming from, but this kid has lit this city on fire. If you automatically say we're having a competition in this town, it would be absolute chaos. Now, if Matt sticks to his plan and says, I'm going to start Andy Dalton, Justin, just keep developing, and let's assume that with that really tough schedule at the start, I think the Browns are in there. There's some really, really good football teams, and you start slowly. Now you could say, all right, you know what, we're handing the reins to Justin, and it's a different vibe. If you start 1-3, 0-4, 2-5 with Justin Fields, where do you turn?
Right.
If he's really struggling young, where do you go? Hey, we're giving the keys to Andy Dalton. All the air is out of your football team.
100%.
So that's why I understand what Matt's doing.
Hey, Cap, it's great to be with you, but going back to 2009 with Rex Ryan and when we were at the Jets, he took the exact opposite approach. He goes, hey, we drafted Sanchez. We traded up for him because we believe in him. We may have to run the ball early. We're going to have to play great defense. We're going to have to play really well in special teams, but you're going to give us the best chance to win from day one. And it was the exact opposite approach. And I'm not saying that that's the only way it could go, but to me, if Coach Nagy had said the best players play, and you're right, Justin Fields has set your city on fire because he's a great player, he's a great person. Like, I would not put any sort of governor on him. I would just say, hey, let it rip, kid. Let's go. And the other thing is, Justin Fields, when a play breaks down, he can make plays with his feet that Andy Dalton never could. So to me, it's about winning right away. There's a lot of ways to win an NFL game, and I wouldn't put any limitations on Justin Fields.
But there's one difference. When you were there in New York with Rex, and I loved watching those teams, you were not thinking about making a coaching change. You didn't have your city screaming, we got to get rid of this coach. Yeah. That was what was going on here. Now, in my opinion, if you're really competent upper management, I'm talking about George McCaskey and Ted Phillips, and they've got to prove that they are because they haven't won, then whatever happens this year should be irrelevant on what you're doing to develop your young quarterback. You can't bring Justin Fields in here, have him learn this complex Andy Reid, Matt Nagy offense, and then go, yeah, we went 6-11. Andy Dalton played most of the games, but we're firing the coach. We're firing the GM. You can't do that. You now have to be wedded to this GM and this head coach. And let's not forget, I was doing some research. If you go back, Matt Flynn in Seattle signed for $37 million as a free agent. He's our starting quarterback. And all of a sudden, 3 weeks into training camp, Pete Carroll went, hey, Matt, I love you. We'll pay your contract, whatever we owe you. That kid beat you out,
Yeah.
Russell Wilson. So maybe that happens in mid-August where Matt Nagy comes out and goes, Andy, you just haven't looked very good, and that kid is past you, and we are going to start Justin Fields.
David Kaplan joining us on the Goodyear Hotline from Cap and J. Hood at ESPN Chicago 1000. So, Cap, with that in mind, it's something that Key has always said about these types of situations, and it was exactly that point you made about Seattle. It's when the other players chime in. It's when, like, a guy like Khalil Mack just kind of, goes down on one knee next to one of the offensive coaches, looking out on the field, watching Fields do whatever he's doing in training camp, and just starts saying, like, that kid's the goods, man.